the Harlem Renaissance was initially taking place, it was sometimes hard for African Americans to keep a positive outlook on life. Most, if not all, African Americans were unable to go outside the box and do their own thing. They were forced to fit in and couldn't do much to change that. But artists such as Archibald Motley and Aaron Douglas helped shed light to the demand of equality. With their paintings and murals, they inspired many to take a stand to combat racial stereotypes and discrimination by helping people be free to express themselves without shame and uplift African Americans and their heritage. These artists influence society by giving their audience a sense of hope, pride, and freedom. Still today, these works continue to encourage society to counter racial inequality and uplift freedom of equality by reminding society to not make mistakes from the past and instead take risks and stay prideful even in hard times. When viewing paintings and murals from the Harlem Renaissance by influential artists such as Archibald Motley's Holy Rollers and Block Party and Aaron Douglas's Dance and Aspiration, there is a clear departure from racial stereotypes that African Americans would no longer be content to submitting to degrading racial times by expressing emotions and opinions through a combination of various colors, shapes, styles, and meanings. These art pieces inspired many to stand up for change and fight against racial segregation and discrimination, and continues to influence society today by inspiring many to express themselves freely and uphold and normalize African American heritage and traditions. Archibald Motley's nightlife theme painting, Black Belt, exhibits the liveliness within the African American community. Their life includes celebration, color, and how they can connect with each other. Freedom of expression was very important because all of the years of oppression and slavery they've been through, African Americans finally got to celebrate their culture and heritage, which contributed to the beauty of the Harlem Renaissance. Motley's jazz-age modernist nightlife painting Black Belt includes African Americans gathering around together at night, walking along the streets, interacting with one another, and having dinner. In the painting, there are people seen above buildings, looking out the windows and into the crowd. This could illustrate the idea that African Americans are noticing change and progress within society. Another thing to take into account is that there is a man included in the painting, which he appears to be flustered in the scene. An article made about Motley by the National Endowment for the Humanities connects this man to Motley, describing this man as Motley's alter ego that is immersed in the scene. This could mean that Motley felt stuck during his life and was placed in Harlem, New York to figure out his life and what he is supposed to become. He takes these thoughts and paints it onto a canvas, which goes back to the belief that freedom of expression allowed any talent and artist and is still allowing the way for artists in today's society.
Archibald Motley's piece, Holy Rollers, made in 1924 during the uncomfortable time of segregation towards blacks, connects and relates to the philosophies, freedom of expression, and celebration of black culture. In Motley's piece, he captured a joyful, vivid depiction of a Pentecostal church with the free angelic body movements, and it's a free spirit captured in real life time, swaying side to side as it meant to embody a new sonic spiritual articulation. Church and religion has a deep connection to slavery and plays a major role in black culture identity. Through the people in Motley's piece worshiping and thanking God, they are embracing their culture from where they came from, slavery. Black culture, specifically Baptist Christianity, which has a first-hand connection to slavery. Black culture and identity is expressive all throughout Archibald Motley's piece, Holy Rollers. Pew Research Center by Bashir Muhammad says 2/3 of black Americans are Protestant and about 4 in 10 Americans overall. Black-led denominations allow black Americans to worship freely. Motley was raised in a Roman Catholic household and was ecstatic by worship, not only by people speaking in tongues, but by expression and through the new worship music that's now known as gospel music. The people in Motley's piece are expressed as happily, freely dancing in a direct connection to freedom of expressing black culture through the celebration. Motley's piece is a direct depiction of black culture and freedom of expression using a space of Pentecostal church which slaves created to have a sense of networking and community that was encouraged by plantationers to seek out religion as a way to have control over slaves, believing slavery was what God wanted and that religion was a way to keep them hopeful and thinking that when they were pleased by God, they would be freed.
Aaron Douglas's oil painting called Aspiration, made in 1936, was a part of a 4-piece mural that was an influential piece of art during the Harlem Renaissance era, and it was seen in a cultural and artistic manner. It was inspirational as it expressed the celebration of black culture through movement and encouragement of the Harlem Renaissance. With this painting, Douglas portrays the progression from slavery to freedom. The first thing that is noticeable to the eyes is its obvious, beautiful color palette of blues, pinks, purples, and yellows. The variety of shades, shapes, and styles create emotion towards the celebration of the Black community by blending African Egyptian and African American cultures. One can clearly see three human figures standing up, one pointing to a hilltop in the distance, which symbolizes an Olympic podium, otherwise, the rise through ranks of life. This could mean that though there are differences in colors and heritage, we as a society are all equal. It also points out three people rising above the chains of slavery, as seen towards the bottom of the painting. The person on the left is seen holding a globe indicating geography. The person in the middle is seen holding a beaker, which symbolizes chemistry, and the woman on the right is seen holding a book with light emitting from her, which signifies the importance and privilege of education and achieving dreams and aspirations as stated in the title of the painting. In her analysis called Aaron Douglas Artist Overview and Analysis, historian Alexandra Duncan actively reveals the complexity to Aaron Douglas's art. She goes into detail about his paintings and the depth that they have. She displays how each piece of art is important and each component was meaningful. It is described that Douglas's work evokes a sense of community, spirituality, sovereignty, and self-determination. His clear themes that are mostly based off of racism and segregation show that through Douglas's work, he wanted to illustrate multiple pieces of art to inspire and give hope to many during hard times during the Harlem Renaissance. To summarize, this piece of art conveys the artist's perception of a link between African Egyptian and African American cultures rejecting European claims to Egypt's historical legacy. Its colorful palette combined with its hidden symbols of rising above slavery and racism come to show that African Americans were tired of their mistreatment and decided to take a stand during the Harlem Renaissance. The beauty of art is that through his works, Douglas can continue his legacy and spread his beliefs of embracing cultural heritage, specifically from slavery to freedom, to many in society today.
Aaron Douglas was a Harlem Renaissance artist who sought to express the essence of Black American culture and its struggles for freedom and equality through his work. His painting Dance, made in 1930, is a prime example of his artistic style and vision. It connects and relates to our philosophies of freedom of expression and celebration of Black culture. Aaron Douglas does this by using his art to introduce the Black community a way of expressing themselves and where they can break through the wall that was built up to keep the cultures of both Black and white Americans apart and to construct a new culture where they are the same. It was such an important piece created to show the importance of accepting yourself, being whoever you want to be, and creating your own destiny, and to move on from the past. With this painting by Aaron Douglas, it portrays the hardships being overcome by many Black Americans during this time. It helps sketch an image of what life was like after they finally figured out who they are and who they can be in America. The painting features a group of dancers, most of whom are Black Americans, in various poses and positions. The figures are depicted in a stylized, geometric style with bold lines and flat colors. The dancers are surrounded by musical instruments, including saxophones and trumpets, which suggests the painting is a celebration of music and dance. Douglas also includes banana leaves in the painting, which have ties back to their African culture to show that they are still connected to their African culture, but to show part of their new lives, that is this new Black American culture. In terms of freedom of expression, the painting represents the idea that Black Americans had the right to express themselves and celebrate their culture. During the Harlem Renaissance, Black artists, writers, and musicians challenged the dominant cultural norms that had suppressed their voices in creative expression. They sought to redefine the Black identity and promote a sense of pride in their heritage. Dance embodies the spirit of freedom and liberation. Britannica describes the importance of the Harlem Renaissance as it helps African American writers and artists gain more control over the representation of Black culture and experience, and it provided them a place in Western high culture. They also go on to say that the Harlem Renaissance also laid the groundwork for all later African American literature and had an enormous impact on Black consciousness worldwide. If we can break this down really quick, they're saying the effects of what the artists and writers did back then, that it helped shape how we view and appreciate the Black culture in America today, and that can't be any less true.
To conclude, Aaron Douglas and Archibald Motley, both visual artists who wanted viewers to see their art's beauty of Black people and see their accomplishments helping the world would be dispelled by the negative stereotypes and shed light on poverty, racism, segregation, and other important systematic racist issues surrounding the African American community. The pieces of that were explained by Holy Rolleries, Nightlife by Motley, and Aspirations and Dance by Douglas. All four of these pieces depicts a celebration of black culture and freedom of expression, all in all vast, different but meaningful ways, expressed through the background of history and religion, timeline depicting in the progressive growth from slavery to freedom, through dance and the depiction of black person's nightlife, all different ways of expressing the beliefs and philosophies that through Aaron Douglas and Archibald Motley's work, freedom of expression and celebration of black culture was demonstrated and still lives on today in modern today's society.